Hello, 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 everybody. Happy New Year. And welcome to another exciting episode of All Knicked Up. It is January 3rd, 2024. We're a little earlier tonight because we figured we'd hit you a little early before the game to discuss the things we need to discuss. Because as we know, since the last time we were on, a lot has happened with our New York Knicks. And we need to get into all of it. So we're going to do that, and then we'll lead you into the game, and we might stay on for a little bit during the game. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for coming. Thanks for watching once again. Let me bring the two guys in real quick. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, hello.
Hello. What's good?
Yeah. Happy New Year to you both.
Same to you.
Thank you, and to
Yes. So Joe, we know you're grinchy on Christmas. Are you better when it comes to New Year's, or do you hate New Year's as well? Is it just
I was great with New Year's in my 20s.
Yeah,
Like
I think we all would say that.
Now
Yeah.
I'm in bed like 9 o'clock. Like New Year's doesn't really exist.
I at least try and stay up until midnight now, and then at least I can say Happy New Year, and then I probably would go to bed a little bit after. But still, I'm with you. In my 20s, man, that's when I enjoyed New Year's Eve more. And I think we all could probably say that. Ty, I'm sure you're in the same boat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the old man crew. That's how we do.
Well, we're old. The three of us are old, but we have a guest who is familiar to people, but he hasn't been on in a while. So let's welcome him back. Craig, welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome back.
What's up, Craig?
Hello. Good to see everybody. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Perfect. How's
So,
everybody
thanks for
doing?
thanks for choosing to come on, man. It's a good thing. Good. We said when you had to leave, we said you're always welcome back. So I'm glad you finally got a chance to come on, and you picked a good show to come. We did not know things were going to happen when you decided to come on. We had planned this for actually the previous week, but we didn't do it. So everything happened this weekend, and of course, I mean, let's get to it. It's the biggest news of the year regarding the team so far. Of course, the blockbuster trade that went down. RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, and a second-round pick were traded to Toronto for OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, and Malachi Flynn. Obviously, the keys are the first two guys for the Knicks and Anunoby for Toronto. Those are the key players in the deal. I'm not going to lead this one because I have a lot to say. So,
Why don't you want to leave?
Joe,
Why don't you want to leave?
there's a lot about the trade. There's a lot about the trade, and regardless of my personal feelings on things involved, there's a lot about the trade I still don't understand, and I think that's the biggest issue I have, in a number of reasons. But Ty, you go first. You tell people what your feelings on the trade and break it down for everyone from your point of view. Let's do it that way. Go ahead.
Well, it was funny for me when I first heard about it coming along. Excuse me, my voice might be a little bit gravelly, but when I first heard about it, I was really stunned because you always have that doubt. It reminds me of KP when he got traded. We're like, wait, they're trading KP, and you're like, all of a sudden, like, oh no, he's gone, and you look around like, man, we never saw it coming. Basically, same thing applies to this one. I'm an RJ Barrett fan. Not the biggest Immanuel Quickley fan, but I'm always a fan of our youth. Growing our youth, to me, is a major thing that we should all do. It's imperative that all franchises have a core person they draft. That's who won championships. They always have a core person you draft and center your team around. The Knicks have, as we know, have not been great at doing that. So, and starting to see, the development of Immanuel Quickley, and then, we always talked about the redundancy of RJ and Julius. We kind of figured that there was going to be some straw to break the camel's back at some point, and they would have to part ways with one of those players. Favorably, we always thought it might be, RJ, unfortunately, no matter how much we liked him or whatever, or dislike Julius or don't find Julius's style to be favorable. You're talking about a 2-time All-Star, probably a 3-time All-Star by the end of this year if things keep, projecting the way that they are. So, Quickley was the shock. That was the shock for me because, all we've heard is that Tom Thibodeau loves Immanuel Quickley. He's You know, he's godsend, I think that's his IG account, and you know, he's a godsend as far as to Thibodeau. He loved everything about him. He petitioned to have him drafted. He was Quickley's my guy. We've heard all the little pundits come out of him as far as about Immanuel Quickley. RJ, not as shocking. We just, like I said, it was just a matter of time. One of them had to go, and you know, I mentioned that he left off the reservation at some point this season, which was probably the first time I was a little disturbed by, you know, his play. You know, we saw, you know, slow starts usually, and you know, him taking 2 or 3 months before he got into what we believe is the potential guy that's the number 3 pick. But this year was quite the opposite. He started off extremely hot. He was on a roll, you know, playing at what could have been potentially an all-star selection level. And he got the migraine and the complete Wesley Snipes disappearing act. And we never saw that same player again after a while, you know. So I've even speculated, I thought maybe his knee was bothering him because it just was inexplicable what had happened on the court, and he had completely disappeared in my eyes. But I'm definitely shocked of the package because I always thought Quickley would go into something bigger than what he went for. There's no disrespect to OG Anunoby and the fans of his game, etc. You know, I always thought Quickley, if he was to go and part ways, the Knicks would be bringing back a significant upgrade, you know, someone at a higher level than OG. Someone explained OG to be today, I think I read somewhere, they said, you know, they basically have Luol Deng, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, you're probably a little bit right. That's the role Luol Deng played for Thibodeau throughout those years in Chicago.
It's a good comparison.
Yeah, I thought it was an excellent one. Would you trade Immanuel Quickley for Luol Deng? The answer is probably hell no, because Quickley's value is higher than any other Knick right now, including Julius, outside of Brunson. When you think about who had the highest value, the most liked, the most adored, the most, you know, had the most fanfare, you know, run up the 6th man of the year. He had the accolades throughout the league. He's always been talked about well, you know, from any of the media pundits. So, you know, to think that this guy literally got attached to a deal, you know, for a guy, efficient version of RJ with better defense. I guess that's what I would say if we're going to do, you know, Eric knows I said the Vegas lateral line was that the Knicks' chances of winning a championship changed absolutely none with this trade, which is not what I would expect to see from a team like, I mean, when you're trading out Immanuel Quickley for another player. You expect it's going to elevate your team at some level and not just keep it meh. And that's what we're seeing with OG in this trade. I don't think that there's much that really changed about the Knicks. I know a lot of people have their thoughts about the defense. To me, it's one game. I don't know. I don't want to say anyone got robbed or, you know, I think it's favorable for both teams. But my question is always with the Knicks. Were you trying to tread water or were you trying to get better and be a second round, get out of the second round? Because this is the success we had in the prior season. So you would expect that they're trying to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So any move should have led to that, not lead to question marks about what are you going to do about the 15 points you lost off the bench. So there's like so many question marks, although he puts answers in certain boxes about defense, efficiency from the corner 3. We hear about the high percentage. We know OG's a solid dude. This is not about OG. It's about the full team and knowing that the Knicks lack so much that depth was not one thing they could sacrifice when it comes to making any kind of trade, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown. I agree with almost everything you said. Again, I'm gonna wait to get my opinions last this time. I'm gonna finish this. So Craig, you haven't been here in a while. I'm gonna turn to you because I know Joe has positive things to say. So you kind of were like this about it. So you tell me what you thought because he's the guy that loves trades. Period. Craig is the guy who loves trades. So so go ahead, man. Give us your take.
I'll start off by saying I agree with like 99.9% of what Ty said. There's nothing there that is, in my opinion, inaccurate. I was a little, with regards to the Quickley piece, I was a little shocked by that. because you're right. He does have the highest value based on what he was doing to start the season, besides maybe like Brunson, Randall, Quickley. I was expecting them to use I'm not surprised by the Barrett trade at all. I'm not. I'm not surprised that he was moved. It was bound to happen because, in my opinion, I've said it often. This is not me just saying it here for takes or whatever. He's the most maddening, inconsistent, most beloved player that I think we've ever had. Right? Like everyone loves RJ. I love RJ. He was built to be a basketball player. He was built to be media savvy. He was just groomed. Everyone loves RJ. I'm not taking that away from him, but he was a maddening player to watch. That's just a fact.
True.
But the Quickley piece of it really shocked me because I was hoping that, like Ty said, he would be used in another package, which is still possible to happen. I mean, outside of that, with the picks that they have, but that would have been the sweetener. So I'm going to hold off saying anything about whether I like the trade or not right now because it's only been one game. But I'm going to take a humanistic approach to this point that I'm about to make. Do we all remember when? There's two pieces here. The Knicks, for the longest time, have had a perception problem around the league. Is that fair to say? With how they Melo, Phil Jackson, Patrick Ewing, all that nonsense. Sprewell with the Timberwolves, all that, right? So, I'm sorry, Sprewell with Dolan when he traded him to Minnesota, right? Mm-hmm. So, we all remember when Drew Holiday's wife put that whole op-ed out, a long post about how he was traded and no one really cared and these players are humans too, blah, 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 right? But if we're looking at it from the human perspective and the perception perspective around the league when it comes to these trades, let's look at it this way. Obi clearly was going to get the time behind Randall. We can say that's mismanagement, asset mismanagement, but you sent him to a team where he could flourish and possibly start, right? Mm-hmm. So the Knicks did that for him, right? Yeah, we kind of screwed the pooch by not giving the opportunity and developing you enough to be what you could have been here. Okay, so you ship you off to Indiana, get you with a young team who runs and guns. Now the return, that leaves a lot to be desired with those second round picks. They won't get any credit for that. Yeah. But now we bring RJ into the equation. This kid grew up in the suburbs of Toronto. You send him back home. That's the other perception piece of it, right? Mm-hmm. Now we talk about Quickley. Let's talk about that other piece. You're sending him to a team that's young, that's on their timeline, where he's going to start, right? And he's probably going to get the money that he deserves. Mm-hmm. That's my take on the trade. I'm withholding everything else until the product on the floor determines that looks like the Derrick Rose trade or the Josh Hart trade. Because I like Anunoby. I think that he fits with Thibodeau, his style, all that stuff. However, his shooting is amazing. His defense is amazing. The cutting from DiVincenzo to get Anunoby those dunks off like a springboard, kind of like, I wouldn't call it like a Sean Marion Matrix type of thing, but the way that I was judging his first game was, could RJ do this? Could RJ do that? Now, that may not be fair to RJ, right? Mm-hmm. And it may not even be fair to Anunoby. But if we're thinking about the things that he was able to do that affected that game against the number one team in the West, sans RJ scoring, if he was on that night, could he have affected the game like Anunoby did? That's it.
It's a good take.
Okay. No, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a good take. I agree with most of the stuff you said. Definitely, he's a very good fit for what how the coach wants to play basketball. So I definitely see that angle of it. And again, I wasn't upset that they got him. I thought it was a good move. It was just I thought the package was a little too much.
Yeah, it was. I think it was too much. Definitely.
Packages nowadays are always too much.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you spoke because it's your turn. so you have the floor, my friend. What was your take on the trade?
first point of interest, Craig, it's great seeing you.
Good to see you too, buddy. Thank you.
All right. So I don't care what Vegas says. I think we walked out of this a better team. So I was thinking, why do I like the trade? And I actually love the trade. And I went into my Microsoft Word and started putting down individual points of why I do love this trade, of which there are 10. I will go through them quickly and try to do this mercifully.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Improved spacing, uncluttered paint. Again, that is very, very big, and I think you've seen Julius
You're right.
that in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
Improved defense, and that is absolutely something to be considered. He removes the guard glut. You're wondering where are those other points going to come? They're going to come from opportunities from other people that are on the team, i.e., Grimes, i.e., DiVincenzo. That guard situation has balanced. And another point that I was going to bring up later on, but I'll bring up now, it allows Hart to shift back into the role that he was last year. No more of this backup power forward thing because we have a backup power forward in the deal. That's Achiuwa, who was not too long ago a first-round talent. Lower usage rate. Again, I think RJ was a high-usage player and an inefficient player. And those touches are going to go elsewhere to players that may or may not be more efficient than he is offensively. I do believe that we obtained the best player in the trade. I do. He's the only one in the trade that does anything elite consistently. Nothing for nothing. If Quickley turns into Tyrese Maxey in 3 years, I'll eat my words. But he's not that player yet. And I think that OG Anunoby is the only person who brings anything elite to the table. And he is an elite defender.
Sure.
Moving on for RJ, I think is a good thing. Again, high usage, not an efficient offensive player, not a particularly good defender, but he had to eat and he took a lot out of the offense. I don't think necessarily this is his fault. I think the team spacing really hurt him. I think who's on the roster really hurt him. I think both players, and this is moving into another point, Quickley couldn't flourish because of the presence of Brunson, right? Couldn't become a starting point guard. He was never going to be a starting shooting guard for anybody. Same thing with RJ. I don't think RJ really had the ability to really flourish because of the presence of Julius. And you guys have hit on this multiple times about how those games are kind of parallel to each other. So, again, they will have opportunities, and I'm happy for them and everything like that, but they were never going to be the players that they could have been here. So the value to Toronto is better than the value to us for those players. Last point that I want to bring up is we kept all of our draft picks. We still have the ability to make a major move. I don't think this is the move. I think that there will be another move down the line, and I think, we have the ammo to get that done. And as far as moves go, what we didn't do here is hold the ball too long and get nickels on the dollar like we did with Obi. We saw a deal that would have improved our deal. We pulled the trigger on it, and we kept enough assets to do something else. Any deal that you have to realize, any deal that you think, larger deal that Quickley would have been involved with is completely hypothetical. The trade market out there is not what it was a couple of years ago. I think it's harder to trade for an impact player today than it was a couple of years ago. You don't even know if that trade is going to exist or whether we would have been scrambling to try to get something for him at the end. I love the trade. I think he fits in with the team very well. I think that he will kind of excel across from Randall. I think it will make Randall and Brunson more efficient by just getting the hell out of the way. That's my take. I love the trade, but I do think there's going to be another trade on the horizon.
Well, I'm glad you finished. I'm glad you finished on that point because I actually want to address that as part of mine. Because, and I'll start there because there's this prevailing theory now that there's another move coming. There has to be another move coming. There's definitely another move coming. Like you said, Joe, show it to me because I don't see one out there right now. I don't. 2, these picks, Ty, you said this many times, so I'm using all of you in my answer. Ty, you said this many times that the picks we have aren't really worth squat, and I agree with you on that one. The protection, even Detroit's pick, the protection is through 18. That's how much protection is on that pick. So we're not getting that. That one's not conveying this year. I don't know what the protection. I think it might decrease. I don't know how much it decreases, but it might decrease.
13 the year after that. It's not gonna be cute.
Okay, so even that 13. Like, what are we talking about here? So I understand having, and I've always been one to. I said yes, get picks. You should have draft picks. They're not only good to build your roster for depth, or if you get lucky in the lottery and get that player, or for as assets. But the picks we have, they're not strong. So I don't know who else on the team do we have now? Can you attach to those picks and say, you're going to want this guy?
I have an answer for that.
Who?
You can attack picks and Ev, and it matches up with DeJounte Murray's current salary.
Okay. Now, I like Evan Fournier. I've been very, very vocal. I think he does have value to a team, but not to that team. I don't see the Hawks wanting him unless Murray is so.
The picks in the expiring contract.
Unless Murray is so dead set on leaving, like he says I want out, which could be happening. I haven't heard that. I know his name's kicked around a lot in trades, but I haven't heard him or anything say he wants to leave. So maybe in a 3-way deal, sure. Maybe it's more attractive to people. I just don't see Grimes is losing value by the game. Although he did play well yesterday. I'll give him that. Or Monday, whenever it was. He played well. So I'll give him that. He fit in nicely. But I don't see that move this year, at least. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see a move this year to be made unless you believe in the Murray trade and unless you believe Murray and Brunson can play together. I'm not so sure they can. He doesn't play well. Him and Trae Young aren't working out so great, and Brunson is very similar, more efficient, but very similar to Trae Young offensively. So, in my opinion, I don't see it that part this year at all. The other part of it is something I've said for years, and they just keep proving me right. And this is the part about drafting guys not to make them your core, but to eventually just trade them somewhere. No championship team in the NBA in recent memory has built a championship team without at least one key homegrown player on the roster. Mm-hmm. I can't think of one.
There is none.
You do not get players like that anymore unless they're older and want out, like Durant, Kyrie, those guys who eventually say, you know what, we want to leave. And we saw how well that worked out. That hasn't provided any fruit anywhere they've been. So you need to the reason you want to draft guys and keep homegrown talent is because you're building a culture with them. So they're growing along with whatever culture it is you're building. And by the time it's ready, their team is ready to win, then you can add somebody and they'll be able to, maybe they can win a championship. Or you're drafting that player already, whoever it is, you're drafting your star player, could be anyone in the future, I don't know, but I keep thinking, Porzingis, the first time something went wrong, they traded him, right? And I don't know what Barrett or Quickley will ever become, but in my opinion, every time they draft someone now, like the joke was RJ was the first Knick to get a second rookie to get a second contract since Charlie Ward.
Yeah.
You don't win championships that way. You don't build winners that way. And the Knicks just repeatedly do this. They draft guys, and then a couple of years they have them, and then they move them. They trade them somewhere. And it could be for a myriad of reasons, but I don't see the success that way, not only in basketball, but in any sport. You have to draft your star players, keep those guys, and you build around those guys you draft. And if you keep screwing it up, well, then try again. But that's, to me, how you build a franchise. Golden State, all their star players were homegrown picks. Steph, Clay, Draymond, 3 of them, homegrown picks. They build around them, they added guys in, and they won championships. Right? Even I could say LeBron with Cleveland. He didn't win the first time around, but he came back. Right? Like, there's Denver, Jokic, Murray, drafted.
And Kyrie was on that team. Kyrie was on that team with LeBron. He was drafted too. So
yes, Kyrie was on that team. Yes, drafted. So
I got a question.
Sure.
Are we counting draft picks that turn into stars or just solid players? Because I have a team.
Yeah, because none of those guys are.
I have a team that won a championship, albeit it was in the bubble.
You think of Toronto?
I'm thinking of the bubble Lakers team. Kyle Kuzma good, Caruso good.
Yeah.
But were they really stars?
So are we counting?
I'm not counting it, but I'm not counting it, but like any millennial, I'm going to use something that fits my narrative. So
the closest one that you can do that is Detroit.
Detroit with Tayshaun Prince.
Because after that, who you really had there was Tayshaun Prince. He was
right, and they had Billups. They added Bill. Yeah.
Wait, so that was a couple.
Hamilton. Hamilton was drafted there.
No, that's the Wizards. Richard Hamilton was drafted by the Wizards.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
Was it the Wizards, or did he go to the Wizards after being in Detroit?
Mike, I believe he played that year with Mike, and then he traded him to Detroit, and that's when they won that championship.
All right. Yeah. But to Eric's point, it's usually not so much as that. There's not many championship teams. The teams that have the formulas have been usually dynasties. When you look at Boston, when you look at the most championships, you're going Boston, you're going the Lakers, then after that you're going Chicago, then you're going San Antonio, then you're going Golden State, and et cetera, et cetera. So when you talk about dynasties and winning multiple titles, that usually has, there's not that many championships championship teams over the last several years when you think about it. Because even if you go to Milwaukee, that was still an abbreviated season, am I correct? When they won their title. So there's no guide that will say that just because you got maybe a superstar talent, you homegrown, that it will work. But it's mostly the teams that are dynasties that have won the most. That's been the formula where they've won. The Knicks have never. Yeah. They've never. The Knicks is just
that's never going to be in MSG's calculus.
It could also be they're feeling the pressure a little bit as well.
Well,
I can't speak for them, but I mean that could be. They are human, right? It doesn't matter how.
Say pressure, you're talking about the pressure of making a move like OG, or you're talking about just the overall pressure of trying to put a title contender and the need to. I mean, I look at like the issues like we're seeing now, and just to piggyback a little bit off of Eric, because me and him usually are kind of on the same wavelength about this stuff. But when looking at it, you see a guy like Barrett and you see a guy like Quickley, is the same issue that's always been with the Knicks. Because what you basically did was you took veterans, you put them ahead of your talent, your drafted talent, and you feel like they can handle it, and you say, oh, well, we got to let these guys work behind people. I mean, Quickley was working behind Alex Burke. We know that's the biggest joke in the world. Quickley couldn't even be a point guard. Has Alex Burke on this damn team, which is the most disgusting thing you could ever hear on the planet. It's like you decided you're going to take a bench two guard, and say, nah, he's going to be the point. Not this kid who played point in Kentucky who rocked out, who won. Didn't he win Defensive Player of the Year? We know he had a great resume. You actually petitioned it to draft this kid.
He was SEC Player of the Year. He was the Player of the Year in the entire conference.
That's what I'm saying. But you decide that they can't handle this. Like New York hasn't won crap. I always tell people, I'm 50. I'm going to be 51 this month. 51 years, they haven't won crap. So this whole thing about, these guys can't handle pressure, or they can't stand a rebuild. We've been rebuilding for 51 years. It's been garbage. Straight waste management. Not that RJ was going to be something great. We don't know. He probably was a third or fourth best player on a team, on a championship team. He might have been a bench player on a championship team. That's not even the real question about that, as whether or not the OG versus RJ. I think when you think about that, OG is the better solid player you want on your team because of the consistency and the defense. I get that whole notion about it. But the Knicks right now, they don't have any picks. When you think about talent you brought in through your system, right now you have nobody. Like you've taken
Robinson,
Grimes. You hope that he comes from out of where he went hocus pocus and disappeared to, because who is he?
They'll have more opportunities with Barrett out and Quickley out.
He should,
but this is the thing. Will he? And that's a great question, because he couldn't stand being in the starting lineup because the team is clunky. As much as you see now, like we've now taken away Immanuel Quickley, which to me is like bananas. You still have 14, 15 points coming up every night. They can go from 14 to 15 points. Say it's 14 and a half. He can go from 14 and a half to 40 on a night. That was his range. Now you put in a guy in Grimes in there and said, dude, young fella, you want to eat? And he takes out his light skin lotion and he rubs it on his face and he goes, hey, you know what? I might just disappear tonight. I might be sensitive. I don't know. They're not passing me the ball. I mean, I'm keeping it a buck. I can talk about light skin people, but you get where I'm coming from. You knew who Quick was. That was one of your people that you brought up through your system. You developed Quickley. Quickley was one of the few developed players in the Knicks history I've seen in the last 25 years. He actually was developed. And he was prime time. He was built to be in this market. It's like you just don't toss that around and think you're going to get those type of 15 points, because they're doing mathematics, and that's not how the game works in Madison Square Garden. You can't say I'm going to find a guy who averages 15. You got to find a guy who can play in Madison Square Garden and average 15, because those pressure bust pipes, and it makes some cheeks kind of tight also. Grimes, we've seen in the starting lineup, and we thought he earned it. We was like, put Grimes in. That dude did not. He was not good under the pressure, because he said, from his point, he said, send me to the bench. I'd rather be on the bench than starting. That's it.
Something that we were talking about is we were blaming the system a lot on Grimes not finding his flow. DiVincenzo seems to be getting his shot and doing quite all right in that starting lineup in the same system.
Let me sip this now.
So it makes you wonder, was it Grimes?
Well, that's what I'm getting at. He's a drafted. He's somebody you drafted. And where's his development at? You decided that you took Immanuel Quickley. I'm not the Quickley fan, but I must be riding for you tonight. You put in 2 guys ahead of him. Your draft pick that you wanted, and you brought in Hart and you brought in DiVincenzo and said, dude, we're never going to start you. So get that out of your mind. We're not going to start you. We develop you, and we don't even believe in you. I mean, that's really what they've told him over the years. Well, we believe in you only in a limited capacity, and we don't want. That's bad development. That's still bad asset management when you think about.
That's the larger part of my point, is that they draft guys and they don't. They develop them to a point, but they never let them. We never find out. They never give them full reign and say, "Let's see what you got."
Yeah.
Right? They never. I mean, think about it. RJ Barrett was the 3rd pick in the draft, right? 3rd overall, and Julius Randle comes, and it's like, okay, that's it. Like, he's the guy. We spent money on him already, so he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Joe, he's a better player, yes. But when he got here, he is a veteran. He's been in the league for years. My thing is, most guys who draft a guy 3rd, teams, they're playing them. They're saying, we're going to figure out what you are, regardless of what it is. We're going to try. Yeah, you're the guy. 3rd overall, you're the guy. We're going to develop.
When he played basketball, he wasn't the guy. The 3rd overall pick doesn't really mean much.
He was the guy everywhere he's been until he got to the NBA.
He was inefficient at Duke too. He shot poorly.
You're not listening.
I'm listening.
My point is, when the Knicks got Porzingis, right? They drafted Porzingis. Carmelo Anthony was here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had to take a backseat, and then he started to develop and show he had something. Unfortunately, the knee happened, and then whatever, he's gone. The Knicks draft RJ Barrett. Julius Randle's here. Again, I'm not saying that it's anyone's fault, but I'm saying normally when you pick a guy that high, you're going to ride him and play him and see what he has. You're going to take the losses and the lumps and being bad because you need to see what you have. They don't do that.
No, they don't.
They haven't. The Knicks just don't do that, and other teams do.
He played 33 minutes a game over his career here. It's not like he was on the bench.
When was he ever the first option?
To show his worth. I mean,
when was he ever the first option?
Did he deserve to be the first option?
If you pick a guy third, yeah, he deserves to be the first option, especially when he's a scorer.
The expensive offense for an inefficient scorer? I'm sorry, that's crazy.
But you're not. This is the point. You're not developing him then. You're basically saying, who knows what he could have been? If they put all their eggs in the basket and said, RJ Barrett, he's going to be our guy. Who knows if he doesn't develop faster or he doesn't become a better shooter? Instead of being told, you're not the first, you're the second guy. This is the guy. He needs to do everything. You play off of him. You don't know that. I don't know that. Nobody knows that.
Maybe he's not a good shooter.
Okay, geez. Fine. Okay. I'm not.
Let me push back on that a little bit.
No, I'm done. That's fine.
No, but I'm asking the same question. Was Randle even a good shooter? No, he wasn't. He wasn't. That's the thing about it. What the Knicks have always done, in my opinion, they put a marginally better player ahead of their young talent. That's what they've done and said, you take a back seat.
And this isn't just about Barrett. It's just the history of the franchise.
It's the franchise's method has always been, Julius, to me, is the better player. He should be the better player. He's been in the league for a lot longer. He's been groomed to be what he is. He was the 8th overall pick, so we're not ever going to think he's a slouch because he's not. But the problem is that with the whole, even with Quickley, before Brunson got here, who should have started over Quickley?
Nobody.
Who should have started over?
That's legit. I can't argue that.
But that's RJ is the only outlier here where you can say, oh, well, RJ was inefficient. Julius was the better player. Those things are true. He was the better, and he should have been the better player being a veteran, and his skill set is better than RJ. I don't think that that's even the argument. The argument is that take RJ out of the whole equation. Every other Knick player that you drafted, basically, I mean, for a while they had Mitch behind DeAndre, what's his name? DeAndre Jordan came in. When are you going to see what these guys have? We saw Obi. You drafted another power forward to sit behind a veteran one who has always been solid. Julius has been 20-10 most of his career. So it's like, so you're going to draft another power forward and never plan on moving off the guy that's sitting in the seat who is always going to play better than him.
I think they planned to move off of him, and then he had that season.
Yes.
I think they planned off of him.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, what are you doing, though? Why, if he has a great season, so now you never drafted his replacement then say, because it should have been, I'm drafting Obi. You're going Obi State.
Yeah.
You wasted an 8th pick on a guy and told him, nah, we've had better thoughts. We're going to rethink this. And granted, it worked out. Julius is a hell of a player. I don't think nobody knocking ever if he can ball. It's just more so that was an asset. You could have got Tyrese Halliburton, or you can got Denny Avia. You can get anybody other than a guy who's redundant if you never plan on getting rid of this guy. They're bad at asset management, period, point blank, as far as I'm concerned.
And then it's the strict nature of the coach, right? Like he never would try Randle and Obi together. And even when he did, it was for a few minutes. But the minute either one of them suffered defensively, he yanked one of them. It was usually Obi. He pulled them out. So, I mean, I understand his philosophy, but it's tough for me to follow a team and you draft these guys and you're like, okay, I'm riding with him. He's a good player. Let's see him develop. And then eventually they're just trading him anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. They do it all the time. So I said this the other day. I'm like, they don't value the draft. So who cares? Like, their thing and their point has always been, we hear it all the time. They're looking for another star. They're looking for a star. That's what they're doing. They're looking to add a star. And I said this to Ty, and I'll say it to you guys as well. If I'm Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, I'm like, why are they looking for another star? Especially Randle. I'm like, I've been all NBA 2 out of the last 3 seasons, all star. They want to bring someone in better than me? Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, or they think he's better than me because they keep saying we need to add a star, a superstar. And yes, I don't think he's a superstar either, but I'm just thinking as a player, if that were me, I'd be like, what else do I need to do?
But they go seriously. I don't think it's the same measure what they need to do. They bring in someone that, like, you're never the guy. That's the whole thing. You're never the guy. We're looking for the guy. And that's the same thing when you draft players like RJ and Quick. You're like, well, you're here, but we didn't really want you. We wanted your cousin. We wanted the other girl down the street. We didn't want you, but we're just going to settle for you right now until she becomes free. That's been really the philosophy they've been governing their whole team by. When you look, like I said, RJ was not better than Julius. I'm not even going to go there with that. It's just more the philosophy has always still been that we're going to draft people and we're going to basically never develop. That's been the knock on the Knicks. What they always said, the Knicks don't develop their young. This has been going on since you've been a fan. This is not just something new. I just think it's bad that you once again pulled the Josh Hart and Cam Reddish. This is what you did. You send an asset, 2 assets out to bring in 1 asset. When you think about it, the same thing you did with Cam, then you had to attach something to Cam to get rid of him, to bring in a better player, but still a mediocre player in the league standard. So you wasted 2 picks to get a guy like Josh Hart, who's basically he's just a fan of Thibodeau's a fan of his game. But that's not a reason if you're trying to build a championship, you bring in that kind of talent. You sacrifice 2 picks, basically, 2 picks in a player to really, well, actually 3 picks in a player to really get Josh Hart. In the end of the day, that's what that whole exchange was because he didn't want Cam. It's like, where's the communication in there? That's just craziness. They're not managing this team at all. They're like throwing people at the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Craig,
my complaint.
Let you go.
Yeah, you've been quiet, dude.
I'm just listening. I'm taking it all in.
Damn popcorn. He's like, look at these. I came back. Damn.
What do you think? What do you think about what I'm saying about their philosophy? What do you think about that? About the team's philosophy when it comes to young players?
I think that they can't win for losing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
The team, they can't. Like the Knicks, the Lakers, Boston, a lot of these big market teams can't do what is being asked of them. They can't beat Oklahoma City, right? They can't be the Golden States, right? It's very hard, right? Because they can. Okay, let me rephrase that. They can, but the pressure, we think about, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm trying not to cape. I'm just playing devil's advocate because I don't know if I could do this job as being a front office person, right? But you think about this for a second. Dolan, stay out of the team. Stay away from the team. Don't make decisions. Then you bring in Phil Jackson. Let the Zen Master do things. Then he comes in and he screws it up, right? Then you can't get LeBron. You can't get Wade. You can't get Bosh. But then you settle for Stoudemire. Then you got to settle for Carmelo. Now, I'm not taking anything from him because everyone knows I love Melo. But essentially, in the league's eyes, you're settling for these players, right? Mm-hmm. Then for years, you got the Isaiah Thomas years, and the Donnie Walsh years, then the Grunwald years, then you're over the cap team, then you're a tax team, and you're doing this, and they try to strip it down and start over. Then you got Phil Jackson hoarding picks. Then you got Steve Mills, and you got people like Frank Isola saying, "Hey, the Knicks need to do this. They need to operate like a small market team." And then they try with I can say that they're trying with Rose, right? With this front office, they're at least trying, right?
Yeah.
But then that's not good enough, right? Then you got people like Stephen A. Smith going on TV tonight and saying, "I'm a bigger star than any player that they have on the Knicks." I don't care how strong-willed or strong-minded the Roses are, the Worldwide Wesleys are, the Brock Allers are, all these people are. That stuff gets into your head. subconsciously, unconsciously, whatever, and you're all okay. Well, we're going to keep operating the way we want. We're going to be pragmatic. We're going to be patient. But at the same time, like, God damn, is Dolan going to eventually just say, screw it? Like, I don't. That's why I say you cannot win for lose. I agree with you, Eric. I agree with you, Ty. I agree with you, Joe. I'm trying to look at this from a 10,000-foot view, as if I'm not a Knicks fan, and just try to be as, what's the word I'm looking
Practical.
for? Practical, yes, thank you. As humanly possible, and they will never make anyone happy. They won't make me happy because they didn't go out and trade for Donovan Mitchell. They won't make you happy, Eric, because they won't mirror Oklahoma City, right? Or the Golden States, right? Then you essentially, I'm sorry, you had to settle for RJ. No offense to him, but you had to.
Yeah.
Ty, that's the point, Ty. You had to because he was the third pick. You'd be stupid not to. Or you could have traded, or right, you could have done what the Clippers did when they drafted who was it? Gilgeous Alexander. Who else? It was someone else they got. They had the 12th pick and the 13th pick, right?
Yeah, Gilgeous Alexander was one, and there was an who's the other?
Not Porter, because Denver took him.
Essentially, that's what we wanted the Knicks at one point to do. You have this pick, trade back to get these two players.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're ever going to do what anyone wants them to do. And I think now I guess they're going to continue to be as pragmatic. They're going to keep doing what they've always done, especially under the Rose era, right? You go out, you make a trade for Rose, get to the playoffs. You miss a year of the playoffs, and you go get Josh Hart, you get to the second round of the playoffs. This Anunoby move won't get you to the Eastern Conference Finals, but it could conceivably get you back to the second round, and then you make that other move to build a team. I don't know what their plan is. They never speak. They don't talk, right? But here's the thing. Nothing gets out, right? So we didn't know this trade was happening. Now all of a sudden, Fred Katz, all respect to him in the world, wants to say, "Oh, they've been doing this. They've been
Well, we knew they were interested. We did know they were interested. We heard that last year, so we knew they were interested in him. But we had no idea it was coming right now.
And that's what I'm saying. So that's why I try to give them credit for things, because they may not be operating like a small market team, asset management wise, but nothing gets out. Almost nothing. And if it gets out, I don't know. I'm just trying to be as practical as possible. I agree with everybody.
I'd like to expand on that a little bit. I know there are emotions attached to the guys that we draft, and that's real from Knicks fans. Mm-hmm. And Eric, I agree with you. And we've talked about this for years on the Knicks Fix, man, that we hoped that they would just blow this up and rebuild it, do it the right way. I think I've come to the point that I know it's never going to happen. But I have to tell you, man, honestly, I know there have been missteps. Yes, they should have taken Halliburton. The whole Cam Reddish thing was disgusting, but they're not far off, in my opinion. And that's what I see. Again, I'm a bigger fan of what this trade means for that team, but I'm going to bring up his name again. And this is all hypothetical, so just humor me. Atlanta paid everybody, and they suck. And the owner's not happy about it, and he's been vocal about that. I shouldn't have paid all of these guys. He said that. Mm-hmm. DeJounte Murray, I think, can be had. I think if you move him for maybe Grimes and some picks, and picks are always going to have – it's the currency of the NBA. Even if they're not great picks, they have value. If we can make that move and head him to the core, you would have two people who could put the ball flat out in the hole and a subpar defenders. But you have a really good perimeter defender. You have a really good defender, somebody that can attack on the ball. You have an interchangeable defender that you could put all over the place. And if Mitch comes back, you have a great defensive center. I look at that team and I say they could be kind of scary with what they have on the bench, conceivably. I think with some of the other picks, what you do is you get a backup center. I think they are not that far off, and a lot of good things are kind of happening, but there needs to be another deal. again, I'm a bigger fan of the OG move, and I think the roster makes more sense now. But
yeah, no, I'm not arguing with that point. Again, I'm not upset that they got the trade. Again, I wouldn't have given both Barrett and Quickley. It would have been one or the other for me.
Yeah.
But
they never
whatever.
They never would have got
whatever. I can imagine they would have said no to just Quickley and maybe a first round pick instead of a second round pick. I can't imagine they would have said that, in my opinion. And if it was Barrett, maybe they had to throw in another first round pick. I don't know. But I can't imagine they wouldn't have done it for one of those, especially with Barrett being from Toronto, from the area. I think that definitely was part of the deal for them, because I listened to the press conference for him and the one after the game they played. I was listening to the Raptors media, and he is really, really popular there. Very, very, very popular in that area, mostly because of his high school career and his international play. And as we know from this summer, he was great in the World Cup this summer. So I think that's why that's part of it for them, is more of an emotional thing, because they're asking him questions like, hey, and I told Ty, they're asking questions like, hey, RJ, how's it been being back home? And is it cool? Like, get to see your family and your friends and all that. Like, it was more like those kind of questions, not basketball related questions.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a
and that's why I really wanted to try to cut you off. That's why I really wanted to harp on that perception thing. I don't think personally I think Quickley and RJ, first time being traded, it may hurt a little bit, but in the long run, if you look at it for the forest for the trees here, if they're as mature as they come off as being, and their family structure is mature, as solid as it is, and that perception piece, the Knicks, yes, it hurts, right? Because we love them. Right, but the Knicks have done, I don't want to say done them a favor, but done them, have changed their lives. Quickley's going to get paid now, and he gets to start. And if we're talking about how the Knicks are perceived around the league with the clutches and all the other agencies and all the other nonsense, well, the Knicks kind of think about it. If you take the emotion out of it, but you look at the business aspect of it, they've helped these kids, right? RJ's home, right? Quickley is about to make a butt ton of money, and he gets to start. For as much as people try to trash the Knicks for the whole Melo, Phil Jackson thing, right? Oh, well, that's all we already talked about, right? Well, look how Phil handled Melo. Well, look how this front office is handling their best players for the most part.
The other layer there too. Yeah, I was just thinking when you're talking, the other layer there too is the lawsuit that was between the Knicks and the Raptors. We all thought there's no way.
That's what I
right?
thought.
Yeah,
we all thought that. And it happened. So
I'm just saying, like, at least perception-wise.
I just wanted to address what Craig said, and I agree with 1,000% of what you said. And my kickback is this: screw RJ and screw Quickley. And why I'm saying that for, I'm glad those dudes is happy. I'm miserable as a Knicks fan. Because I'm wondering where the hell this next move gonna come from. Because
we can talk about that. Yeah,
Toronto damn comfortable. They made the Barrett family very comfortable. The Quickley family is damn comfortable. The damn Nick family is sitting here like, what's up? Because we have no clue what the next damn move is going to be. Because you wanted to make everybody else comfortable in Toronto, and we don't know where the hell that next move. I know we got picks. I know we've heard about these picks. And I always say, even when looking at the Knicks picks, say we talk about our own picks.
My guy, P.
What is
my guy, Paul Patrick.
Never trust a guy with two first names. Sorry, Paul.
I hear you, though. I hear you 100%.
We're still looking at now our picks, and what I was telling people about the value of them. If we even use our own pick, look at, because I love some Tankathon. I love me some Tankathon. You go up and find out where the Knicks would pick as is, and we're in the 20s, the late 20s. Yeah. Who's going to say, send me DeJounte Murray for that 20th damn pick you got? And the other guy, 20th pick you never developed. You got to wait. They want picks from the Knicks that are down the line where we might be terrible.
Yeah.
The picks that we have now, who the hell would even sit there? Would you?
The picks that San Antonio got, two of them were protected.
What do you mean? By
what was the protection on them, though?
Yeah.
What was the
One of
protection
them
on?
was a pick that we originally had from Charlotte that I think was lottery protected.
I think it was 13.
Okay, so that's 14, right? 14 is the lottery now, so
Lottery.
you can
So
start at the 15th pick.
Because I'm
Yeah,
saying
but-
we're going to be late as our own picks. If we keep on this trajectory, we're going to be near a play-in team. We're not going to be in the lottery unless two people get injured. Like you're going to have to wait for a suffering injury for those picks to have high value. Is my point. I don't see where we are going to take. Like, who's lining up for those damn picks? Milwaukee's
Right
pick
now,
is the one that may transfer, and they still it's still going to be a high pick, a low pick, not a high pick.
Right now,
have value.
the Knicks are sitting in 15th position pick-wise with their own pick.
Okay.
And they would be getting Dallas's pick, who's basically right next to them.
Yeah,
So they would, as of now, which I'm hoping this changes because I hope the Knicks move up in the standings. As much as I'm skeptical, like I said today, John was talking. Shout out to John, by the way, but he was talking about the trade, and I said I need more than one game. I need about 20 to see how this is going to work out. So I don't want to grade the trade yet, but I agree with everything that, like Joe, that you've said. He's a very good fit for what they're doing. So I don't have an issue with the player coming here at all. But I still need time to see how it works out. But if they don't, and that would be right outside the lottery, and those kinds of picks would be good. But this would be for a trade after the season, right? Like if they're making one now, once they get that guy, you assume automatically they're just going to be a better team, right? They're going to.
There's something to consider about you saying that they're probably not going to make a move. They kind of have to. And I'll explain why.
Yeah, they do.
They need to get that other player under contract before they sign the Anunoby extension, which is going to be significant. They're going to have to use his bird rights to go over the cap. As soon as they sign that Anunoby extension, they are not going to be able to bring anybody else on unless it's equal money going out. They could turn around and make a DeJounte Murray trade, let's say, hypothetically, and then sign OG Anunoby for whatever after the fact.
Got his bird right.
And, got his birds rights. And also, a lot of those picks are coming up. We have 2 picks in this year's draft. They are going to depreciate as soon as we pick somebody. So,
Okay, but you just proved my point. What I was saying before.
Again, we're going to have to involve them
the draft guys
because they're not going to draft somebody. You know what I'm saying? This is kind of the thing. They kind of have to, if they want to take that next step forward in team development.
Well,
they kind of have to make a trade before they sign the Anunoby extension to bring in another player. Or else
that crazy guy. He wanted $40 million a year, so I don't know what the hell.
Did you see my name?
I'm not giving him $40 million a year. No, yes, I saw that.
He gets $40 million a year. You better make whatever moves you need to make before that ink goes down.
He is not getting $40 million. I'd be like, see you later. I don't care. We traded those guys. You can go find your $40 million somewhere else. I am not paying him that much. That's more than anyone on the team.
I'll tell you right now, man. People always think that they're going to get players in trades for less than they get. It's always more. And people think that people are going to sign for less. Fans think players are going to sign for less, and they always sign for more. The cost for trades is always more than fans think, and the cost for free agent signings is always more than you think it's going to be.
That's fine.
He suggested
27, 28, I'm good.
He suggested that he may take less to play in New York. That was the whole story about the $40 million. It was $40 million initially, and he claimed that because he loves New York so much, he must not. He hasn't dealt with the taxes yet, so I don't know how much he's going to. Because he's going to wall that $40 million because he's probably going to walk away with.
If that's the case, his agent needs to be fired.
It's a dangerous thing with the contract with OG. If we're moving forward and talking about him wanting Brunson type money, I guess, because what RJ is making like what $26, $27 million,
making almost 30
a year, and they call that a toxic asset on the books. That's what Artie's been described as now.
Yeah.
When you think about the hard cap that's coming, I'm not the capologist, but from what I heard, it's a nasty cap. You may be stuck with Brunson or re-sign Julius, and Anunoby is your big three.
It depends how much they're willing to pay in cap fines.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Would you pay $40 million to keep Anunoby? I know I wouldn't.
I think if Dolan thinks he has a chance of winning, I think he's going to pay whatever needs to be paid. That's the only thing I've always said about Dolan is the only good quality he has is I think he'll pay if push comes to shove.
I honestly don't think he'll command $40 million, and I think the Knicks know that. That's just. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I mean.
All right, I'm going to answer that. Go ahead. But I'm going to answer that.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
He has the right to, and he should ask for whatever the hell his agent should ask for whatever the hell he thinks he's worth.
Of course.
That I do not have a problem with.
Yeah.
He can want and think he's owed $40 million a year. Congratulations. I don't see the market dictating that. Number one, I don't care how good a two-way player he is. I don't think the market's going to dictate that. But the key in negotiations is you can always come down, right? So you always shoot for the moon, and then you could go down from that point. So putting that number out there was smart. I agree with you, Craig. I don't think the Knicks are going to pay him that. I could see around, like I said, 28, 30-ish in that range. Just because for me, I don't think this guy can create his own offense. So he's a fantastic defensive player.
He's not that kind of player.
But that's what I mean. So if I'm paying that kind of money, you better be able to do a bunch of things.
Are they under pressure? Are they under pressure to pay him?
Yes.
I think they have to be because they just traded away, Quickley and Barrett, and
he might get his damn money. Is my point. Like, could you let that guy, now that you've given up two very favorite assets in New York, you basically said, I don't want to pay Immanuel Quickley what he wants. And most Knicks fans, a lot of Knicks fans, not this one here, but I'm just saying, a lot of people thought Quick should have gotten paid with the $25 million that he was going to get. But my point is that can you afford to not re-sign him after giving up those assets? I think you got to re-sign him for probably a little bit more if he asked for it. And I'm not saying $40 million, but I think Brunson, they are thinking there's going to be $40+ million a year when he restructured his.
I'm just gonna read off a few of the players. I'm gonna read off a few of the players who are making $40 billion, and you tell me if he's in this area. And I know that's not fair, but just
it's fair. It's fair. Go on.
Anthony Davis, Trae Young, Luka Doncic. They all make $40 billion. Do you think he is in that space with any of them? No. So, and I think that's what they'll wind up saying. Now, I know salaries are based on the fluctuation of the salary cap. So as the cap goes up, the numbers move up. That's usually how it happens. But I don't see it. I agree with you. They're under pressure to sign him because I said this to you, Ty. When the trade was done, I'm like, he's a free agent in the summer. What's to say he just doesn't walk and be like, yeah, thank you, had a good time.
I don't think they would have made that trade if they didn't have all kind of thing going on as it is. I mean, nothing for nothing. Leon Rose's son is his.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's.
I think they already know.
I have two words. Carlos Boozer. I have 2 words. Carlos Boozer.
Carlos Boozer had no integrity.
I don't know this. Do we know this guy? I don't know this guy.
I wouldn't have no integrity either.
I thought that was hilarious when that happened with Carlos Boozer.
It was.
I would have no damn integrity whatsoever. You pay me $40 million.
We could. Who else? Chandler Parsons did it. DeAndre Jordan did it. Like
almost did it actually.
Yeah.
He was going to sign with Dallas, and then he decided to go back.
That's like it's a crazy thing.
We got
when money gets involved.
What Neil Brown said, Money talks. Bull runs a marathon, and that's
Yeah.
fact.
I don't think they're in danger of losing him in free agency. I think this is going to get all worked out.
They better hope it
I'm
does.
not saying they are, but like I said, this people say this all the time. Free agent does mean free. They are free, so he's not he's not restricted. Not a restricted free agent. They have no right to keep him.
I'm gonna go real bad here scenario. What if he gets injured before the season? See, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Ghost of McDyess.
It's a very Nick thing to happen. I mean, I'm just keeping it. Look at Mitchell Robinson. I mean, we've been waiting around. Mitchell's defensive player of the year up until he got injured. Not thinking fun of their injuries, but this is just the luck. We're the unlucky leprechauns in New York when it comes to players' health.
One more thing before we go. So Quickley obviously is gone. We talked about guys needing to step up. Of the leftover guys, I'll mention this too. They did extend Miles McBride, so there's a little bit of a commitment there now with him. We'll see how that works out. But do you think? Now we talked about Grimes. Do you think anyone else, maybe a McBride, can step up to fill that role, maybe in a different capacity? I don't think anyone will score as much as him, but who do you think is going to step up being the six-man type on the team now?
I think you're going to see more from Josh Hart, and I'm hoping that you're going to see more from Grimes. I think you're going to see more of Josh Hart than you've seen this year. I think DiVincenzo, I think those touches are going to go elsewhere in the offense. They might get funneled through our two best scorers too. I just, there may be more Brunson, more Julius. That's something, but I think it's going to be an improvement because, again, high usage player in RJ, not efficient. Career about 42% from the field, 33% from three. For a high usage player, that's really bad. So you hope that you get better results with some of those shots when they're redistributed. Quickley, again, we're seeing the best Quickley that we've probably seen this year. Honestly. That's a tougher nut. I mean, as much as I do like the trade, losing him hurts. I'm not going to deny that.
The analytics love him.
Guys are going to have to step up.
I don't think there's one there.
So I think Hart will do better, and I'm hoping that Grimes is going to do better. I think I'm going to go get my grandmother's old magic chicken foot and do some spells or something, and hopefully get some better results.
Voodoo to get Grimes going. Yeah. I don't like the
old Pollock woman's magic chicken foot.
I don't see anybody. That's why it's such a I'm joking with Craig. He's right how they sent them to comfort in Toronto, but Knicks fans should be uncomfortable, being that now you've got one guy who you're basically bringing in Anunoby, and I think it's unfair. I'm not saying we're saying that, but I'm telling you how most of the reactions are. Is after that first game, this guy's going to solve the RJ issue. He's going to come in. This is the guy to fix everything. And I'm like, well, you must have not watched this guy's game. He's solid. It's not about him. It's about the fact that Knicks are missing so much stuff that the depth is really what saved the Knicks. When you think about it, the depth is RJ might have been inefficient, but he was 18 to 19 points a game. Quickley 14 points. You took out 35 points out of a team that struggles to even make clutch plays in the fourth quarter. In a tight game, you're depending on Brunson being heroic, or the other night, Julius being heroic. Now you're asking someone off that bench to do what Quickley and RJ really provided on a nightly basis, whether inefficient or efficient. They still were able to get buckets. They were scorers. I don't see where the Knicks have in Josh Hart or in Grimes. Grimes is not a self-starter. He's a product of maybe an offense, but you're talking about dogs. When you think about RJ's wiring, although with the wires was a little, disconnected, he still could get you 18 or 19 points or was capable of taking over a game if the other guys were falling apart. The Knicks, Anunoby, his game is not like that.
No.
His game is not. His game doesn't translate. He will have better, solid, efficient numbers than RJ. That's flat out honest. But we're talking about when you're in a pinch and need to get a bucket. He's not going to create that his own shot. Quickley and RJ could do those two things, and the Knicks need those guys, more of those guys than they need less of those guys. And that's, I think, what's really, they need more bucket getters that are efficient. They need efficient bucket getters, and that's something that we do. There's not Ron's numbers are not great. Go check him. He's not.
But he's the guy. He's the one guy though that talent-wise could be that guy. Yes. You just gotta hope that it clicks. Like that's the thing. You gotta hope it clicks for him, and then he's finally, I keep thinking about he worked with JJ Redick all summer. Like, where's that guy? Like, JJ Redick got his shots. Like he took him a while to find his game in the NBA, but he found his game and became a really good player. So,
we should rewind and find Ty's take on the whole JJ Redick situation.
All right, let's go back to it.
That was hilarious.
But I'm just saying, like, it was public, right? Like it was a public thing. We saw videos of it. Redick spoke about it on his podcast, mentioned Grimes directly, saying he's a guy I think is going to take a big leap. And now we're like, okay. So now, to Joe's point, he's right. The clutter is the clutter is gone. Like, here's your chance now, kid. This is your chance. Grab it or don't. Like, give me Summer League Grimes. He was great in Summer League. Give me that guy. Give me that aggression every game. I don't care if at first you're shooting 2 for 20. I honestly don't. I just want to see you be aggressive with the ball and look for your shot. Look for your offense, because that's what they need now. That is what they need.
If he ever arrives, it has to be now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Craig was trading him in the summer. Like every trade that came up, Craig was like, Grimes, just trade Grimes. I don't care. Put Grimes in the trade. Every trade. I was like, dude, okay, we get it. You're not a fan. We get it. It's fine.
But you know what it is? The difference between him and Quickley and RJ is
it's up here.
They're not. He's not a dog. Those dudes were dogs, and I always bring up the dog. RJ and Quickley are dogs. Now they might drive you nuts, but they weren't afraid of no moment in the garden, and they would just have to be bad. That's the thing about it. Like you wanted them to be more efficient, but you never wondered whether or not they were scared to play. And there's times where I watch Grimes and I'm like, this dude, you have all the space.
It's a fair point.
And it's like, you're not a dog. Sprewell wasn't the greatest shooter. Allen Houston was the shooter on his team. Don't ever get it wrong. But let me tell you, we in a war, take a spree ass all the time. Are you serious? No offense.
Well, yeah, he choked his coach. So yeah, if I'm in a war, I'm gonna take the guy.
Right around with rims that spin. I'm just trying to tell you, he had that in him, and we knew RJ had it, and Quick had it, and now we're waiting. I don't see it in Grimes. I mean, I pray I'm wrong. I'm telling you, I pray I'm wrong, and this dude comes through, but I don't see it.
If it comes, it's got to come now.
Yep, that's it. Joe's correct. If it's gonna happen, he has no more excuses. There's nobody in front of you. There's two guys who are taking minutes and shots that aren't there anymore. So now is your chance. Now is your chance.
Himself. Eminem, you better lose yourself. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
It's Priest defense. Chokeable face.
We'll see though. But has the game started? It has started, right?
They were up 26-22 last I saw. They posted the score. So they are winning. 26-24 now, beginning of second quarter. So
it's going to be I guess Andre Drummond's night is going to be the big night. If he can control the boards, the Knicks going to have some problems. That would be.
I told you that's why they won the other game against Minnesota, because they out rebounded them by 16.
You know how much Andre Drummond's making this year?
$3 million.
I can find out. I just had the salaries.
$5 million.
How much?
3.6.
Yeah, see, that's nothing.
That trade asset. I don't know why the Knicks haven't even pulled the trigger on that. They have that
player in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love iHeart's game, but you do need a dog. Once again, I like iHeart. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Jericho Sims is your answer. That he's going to come in and give you the kind of dog play you need every night in and night out. Because you're talking about a guy who, for the last 3 games, I think he's averaged almost 25 rebounds a game.
He's always been good at that. Always.
But you know what? He's not going to come here. Rim protection. Yeah,
he's not. It's weird for a guy with his size. He's not a good shot blocker.
Yeah, the rim protection.
It just goes to show you that there's more to shot blocking than being tall. Because
yeah,
he is not that dude.
That's what it's an elite defensive rebounding kind of rim protection. If you look at it through a certain lens.
Granting the rebound. Well, it's securing the possession. So yes, in a way, yeah, it makes it. Yeah, you're securing. If you're securing the misses, then yes, then that's.
I think the rim protection is probably the most overvalued thing that we keep hearing about in the whole damn entire league. I mean, how many outside of Ja Morant, usually the small dudes you see that try to go in and yoke it nowadays? Like how many big dunks have you seen where guys go drive through the lane with ferocity and just rip the rim anymore? No, because the ripping of the rim is sitting out at the 3-point line, shooting all these damn shots that everybody thinks they're a marksman. So the emphasis on this rim protection is like, no, you need to perimeter protect is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And this is
Amen.
No, I have the game on it. They just showed DeRozan. I'm like, that's the move.
You know,
guy?
We can clutter up the paint again.
I said, DeRozan's Charlie to move. How can he not be? Why would we not clog back up the paint?
He's 35.
It's like, oh no, he's got like 2 years left in him.
Personally, I want to be 35 again, but NBA.
You know, he would be a good asset to obtain, but like I said, I don't know. I don't know where the Knicks are heading. It just I don't know where this is supposed to go. I
think that's going to say closing thoughts, but yeah, that's your closing thought. And I agree with you there. Joe, you seem convinced another move's coming, and you think it has to. I don't see where it's coming.
We never do see where it's coming from, though, especially with this front office. It just kind of happens.
No, I'm talking about from my own purview. I'm not talking about from what they're looking at. I'm just talking about from my own. Like this was always something I thought could happen. I didn't think this package could happen, but and when the lawsuit happened, I wasn't sure. But I always thought that he'd be a good fit, and it would make sense to add him to how this team plays because of this coach. So yes, this move, although I didn't think, like I said, because of the situation between the teams, it was going to happen this year. I always thought it could happen. The other move, though, I just don't see. Apparently, Cleveland is not looking to trade Mitchell. Maybe, like you said,
and the Knicks don't a lot for him. What we're learning, so.
Right, and apparently the Atlanta situation, like you bring up the Atlanta situation, maybe that he shakes free and Murray's possible. A possible get
in Towns either.
Nope, not this year. Not when they're winning games. And
no.
I mean, you can say what you want about him. He's 50, 40, 90 this year. 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the line.
He's definitely
And why would the Timberwolves even trade him? Like,
there's no reason.
Julius? I mean, I'm not being funny to Julius. I think, and because I don't think Julius is ever like Towns is the more better talent overall. But it's not like Julius is a slouch. But they're not going to want Julius. That's my point.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell are they going to trade Towns to get Julius? Because that's really what it has to come down to.
That's what it would be.
Not going to happen. They're not that crazy. I wouldn't do that. You know, even though I think they're both kind of mental mashed potatoes at times. I'm not. This is both of the dudes, but I'm like, I wouldn't personally trade Towns, a better shooter, for Julius, who's just more bullish and
Yeah, their games are they give similar production, but their games are different, right? Like
Exactly.
Towns
So,
is much more a finesse type of guy. Julius is much more bull in the china shop. But yeah, I think because Towns is like he was their homegrown pick. He's been there for a while. You know, he's kind of one of the team leaders. And I think they said that he was really good for Edwards. I don't know how much I believe that, but because I always thought there was friction there. But they said I've read a lot of my friends. All my friends live in Minnesota. They're like, no, he's really been like a good. He's kind of got into Edwards. His methods of doing it were weird, but Edwards is finally figuring it out. Nice. And you see, there's no friction for shots there. Like they seem fine.
Yeah,
now.
they're kind of confusion. I mean, I think the team is clunky as far as Bill wise, but it's working. It's working. So somebody has to sacrifice the ego. I'm really thinking now when I think about the totality of the league and thinking about who the Knicks are after, it has to be Devin Booker. That's the only thing I can see right now. Because when looking at that team, we know it's an abomination right now. And we hear KD rattle off, which he's always going to do anyway. My point is that does he stay long-term knowing Bradley Beal's injury? And KD has got a couple more years. He doesn't have a lot of years. In fact, sometimes you see a little bit of the polish come off of KD, similar to like LeBron. They play at a high level. They're still dangerous players, but you don't think they can ever carry a team anymore to the likelihood of going to a finals and taking you to a championship. I don't think they're that kind of player anymore. And I'm looking at Book. Why would he sit there for that? And Phoenix has new assets. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think that's who I'm looking at if I'm like thinking about the Knicks and the connections that they always go back to, Leon Rose, et cetera. You have to think a little bit about Devin Booker in that situation and say, will the Knicks make a play for that kind of player who may become disgruntled? Because he's going to want to win at some point. He's got to the finals one year, they didn't win. Then the other years you had to collapse with Monty Williams several times. I mean, is that who they're targeting? I don't think they can get him. I'm just saying, is that who they are looking at?
He'd definitely be one of the guys I'd be happy about them trying to get. I'll say that. I don't see for what we have to give them being able to get him.
I don't either.
So, I don't know. Like I said, a third team, maybe they'll do that if there's a third team involved. I will say this, though. I do think they're going to try and ride this year out. I don't think if they get him, it will be this year. I think they're going to try and figure out this year in Phoenix because Beal just came back. He's healthy now or whatever that means with him. I don't know. But he's back. So, Craig, what did the Stephen A thing? Do you know exactly what he said? I'm just curious.
He flat out said, "I'm a bigger star in New York than what the Knicks have."
I heard someone say he said that they had a chance to get some. Who were they? Just Mitchell?
It's always going to be Donovan Mitchell for him. And then he segued into I'm more known in New York than like that. Like, dude, like that's when you like I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's just being hyperbolic. He's being him. But a part of me, he really believes that, and you're making it about like. And again, this is me completely standing for the Knicks organization right now, right? You're doing this on a nationally televised pregame show where people are watching. It feeds that beast. It feeds that animal, and you know exactly what you're doing. And to me, it's completely fudged up, right? Like that's messed up because you're making it about you and not about just be a professional. You know what you're saying is, I don't want to say blasphemous, but just disrespectful to Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, regardless of their limitations in being a star player. You got a dude who's been a two-time All-Star, Randle, no matter how maddening he is, who may be a third-time All-Star. You got a guy who was underrated his whole life, who may now make his first All-Star team and has exceeded expectations. And you go on national TV and you say that, you're a disrespectful piece of trash. I'm just going to say, and I hope he sees it, whatever. I don't care. Hopefully he does. But that's corny. Like that's corny. And I'm
gonna send them the clip. Pressure
on that organization that they probably already feel. Oh, come on, man! Like you
Well,
can do
because
you wouldn't
Donovan
do that
Mitchell was on that juice next to Jalen Brown.
Come on, man. He wouldn't do that to the Lakers. Come on, man. You're trash.
That would never work. That would never. I don't see that. I never thought that pairing would work. And I love Donovan Mitchell.
Neither do
I
I.
wanted him. I wanted him to get to draft him. When they took Frank, but that's make me sick.
Different story.
Ty, I think you're frozen out. I think we lost you, brother. I think I'm not seeing you anymore. I see your nice frozen picture. Very, very funny. But reboot if you're there. It'll just bring you back in. Because I don't want to close the show without you. But we'll start closing anyway. You'll make your way back. So, yeah, Craig, man, thanks for coming on again. So great to have you on. Get your opinion. Again, whenever you want to come on, the invitation is always there. You're always welcome. You're one of the originals. So we'll take you anytime you want to come on. Just let us know and we'll throw you on. But thanks for having the more measured take. I'll say Joe's was pretty measured too, but yours was very mature. I'll say that.
I'll be 40. Yeah. That's where it's coming from. I'll be 40. It's crazy.
That's true, man. Wow. Crazy when I think about how long I've known you now. Nuts.
Almost 20 years, you can say.
I know. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. But back on the Knicks message boards.
Knicks fix. Yeah, man. Or maybe before then. Before you
the AOL boards. I think I met you on the AOL boards originally.
Oh, wow.
I think you were there. Yeah.
You said that's where you first ran into Jimmy too, was the AOL boards.
Oh, that is where I knew Jimmy from.
Yeah.
Dude would make challenges and so funny. He would challenge me to play ball, all this other stuff. And I'm like, all right, fine, pick a court. I'll come play you. I don't care. But never seemed to happen. It never seemed to come to pass. So, but again, loved having you on. Ty is having issues, guys. So hopefully he comes back. But if not, Joe. Tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at Upstate Joe, AKU for all Knicked Up.
On the Knicks page.
On the Knicks page too. On the fan page, definitely.
Yes.
And definitely, if you think my takes were trash, I'd love to hear all about it.
I don't think they were. So,
there's somebody out there that's got to think my takes are trash.
Of course.
I do come up with trashy takes from time to time.
Oh, so do I. I am not immune to the bad take. I was a big fan of Darko Milicic, so I can put that out there.
You love your Euros, man.
I am the Euro guy on this with us. I definitely am.
Who's the Euro guy? Fran
Vasquez.
No. Fran Fraschilla, I think his name is. The
guy yes. The former St. John's coach, Fran Fraschilla.
Yeah.
Fran Fraschilla, yeah.
You're like the Fran Fraschilla of all Knicked Up.
Yeah, I do. I like the European game in a lot of respects, so that's why I know the players a little bit more than others. Craig, let them know where they can find you and talk to you.
You can find me on Twitter at Trace_Sun28 and on the Facebook. On the All Knicked Up Facebook page, and that's about it.
All right, guys. You see me down there. You see all my information. At Finally33 is my personal handle. At all_Knicked_up is the show handle. You reach out to me in either spot. I'm actually growing the All Knicked Up a little more. I've gotten some new followers recently, so I'm happy about that. And hopefully I broadcast the show to Twitter now, because for the first time you could actually put comments on Twitter for StreamYard. So now comments that people respond to our show on Twitter, I can see the comments as well. We could talk. I don't know if I can respond to them here, but I could at least see them and respond to them in the chat itself. So that definitely check out both of those there. As I say all the time, I have a pop culture show called Straight Outta Gotham. It's at straight_O_G. On that show, I discover all topics of fandom and pop culture, whether it be Star Wars or movies or comic books or all that fun stuff. You can check us out over there. We have a new show up just for the new year. I just posted one this past weekend. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search for Straight Outta Gotham, and you can check it out over there. Ty's at Genius Scribble. I know that's his Twitter handle. It's at Genius Scribble, and he's always put it. He obviously had issues, but he always is putting up the game recaps on the All Knicked Up fan page. So look out for those guys as well.
Yeah, he does a good job with those.
He does, and let us know what you think. Like, talk to us there. We like the interaction. Definitely like having conversations with the people who watch us. So that is all for this show. So for Joe and Craig and Ty, I'm Eric. You're watching All Knicked Up, and we'll see you next time.